Hello, welcome. It's Frances here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button below if you would like to help support this channel by subscribing. Also a bell to be notified as to when I upload more content. I'm coming to you from Ghana country, and as such I acknowledge the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of the lands upon which I reside. So I've been a little bit distracted of late, and finally I want to get out this video on the new moon that's coming up on either Monday the 26th of May, or here in South Australia it's going to be Tuesday the 27th of May at 12:32 p.m. so that's Australian Central Standard Time. As I said, depending on where you are in the world, it could actually be the day before the 26th, and it will be at 6 degrees 5 minutes of Gemini. So when there's a new moon, this means that the sun and moon are next door to each other, so it's conjunct. And if you have a copy of your natal or birth chart, take note of what house Gemini is in, because this will indicate what area in your life you will probably more likely set new intentions to achieve, or which will actually be activated under this new moon, because we have what's called a stellium in astrology. Now, stellium is when we have three, I think it's three, not two, three or more planets or points in the same sign. And at this new moon, not only do we have the sun and the moon in Gemini, but also Jupiter, Mercury, and the dwarf planet Sedna, which is in the early degrees of Gemini, conjunct with Mercury. Now, Sedna is named after the Inuit goddess of the oceans. There's a lovely, there's a one, I shouldn't say wonderful either. There's a very interesting mythology about her, how she became the goddess of the oceans, and how she's connected in with the watery depths. And I have done a video about Sedna, so I will put the link below if you have not already seen it. So Gemini, this is the sign of the twins, so it's about duality. And it's about socializing, whether it with family, friends, co-workers, acquaintances, etc. It's about communication, sort of refining our writing, our speaking, our teaching, and our listening skills. Gemini is also a very curious sign. It wants to understand what has happened, and then it wants to talk about things. It's also about mental stimulation, gathering this information together, and also very interested in learning new things. The planetary ruler of Gemini is Mercury, which is at 2 degrees 20 minutes of Gemini. And Mercury is also about communication. It's also about travel, bringing in new interests and activity, and again about socializing, this desire to be more open as to what is happening around you. And then we have Jupiter in Gemini, which is at 26 degrees 54 minutes, activating, expanding everything. So this could really indicate that there is something new coming into your life, and now you're wanting to know all the details. However, these may not be arriving or revealing themselves as quickly as you would like. So there is a need to sort of be patient. Gemini also connected in with social media, because this is often how we get our news these days. And there could be a lot of innovations happening in this area where you almost feel like you're getting, again, too much information. So it's a good time to maybe pause for a moment and reevaluate our communication and social skills by even questioning what or just how much information we actually take in, its relevance, not to mention whether we communicate in a friendly, non-threatening manner, or whether we are very reactive to what we hear or perceive other people are saying around us. And as I said, Gemini is about the twins, so it is important to remember that there are two sides to Gemini. And as such, there is sometimes a connection with superficial connections where everything's on the surface level and there isn't that depth. Therefore, you may actually be finding yourself needing or desiring to dig a little bit deeper in order to get to the real truth, not just the superficial truth. And when it comes to sort of magical practices and particularly the craft, this is one of the basic things that we were always taught, is to trust nothing that you hear, sort of experience, and also do your own research to find out whether it's accurate or not. And again, in our world today, we've got a lot of sort of false news happening, a lot of alternative motives that maybe not be disclosed or transparent when we first look. There's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. So without getting to conspiracy theories, Gemini is also reminding us to be responsible for the information that we take in and its truth value. Probably a little bit much to ask in this day and age, but we'll see. Now, one of the astrologers that I follow, Molly McCord, indicates that at this new moon, it could actually be seen as a preparation for when Uranus enters Gemini next year. And in doing that, it'll be moving things forward in this particular area of your chart of your life where Gemini is, especially for planets or points there. I'll talk a little bit more about Uranus in a moment, but I want to come back to the sort of stellium that we have with the Sun, the Moon, and Mercury, which are all sort of conjunct, but also trinings, and trining is a positive angle. Pluto, which is at 3 degrees 22 minutes of Aquarius. It's just gone into retrograde. And this trine is actually going to really make this new moon more powerful, with both Aquarius and Gemini being connected with the mind. So Gemini is the lower mind, the more day-to-day mind. Aquarius is the higher mind, the inspirational aspects to it. So again, we've got this communication theme happening here. So consider, how are you integrating all these new technologies in your life, especially, say, AI technologies? I know personally for me, I am not quite on board with AI. I'm finding it very frustrating, probably because it's in its early stages, but I can almost see, especially with the deep fake images that we're getting already, a lot of problems if it's continued to have free reign, so to speak. So that's my sort of difficulties with this modern technology, with the sort of higher level that's coming in. So how are you adapting, coping? Are you taking on board modern technologies such as AI, chat, whatever that chat program is, or are you a bit of a dinosaur like me? So Pluto will be retrograding for the next 5 months. And when planets retrograde, that means from our point on the Earth, when we see them in the sky, they look like they're going backwards, but they're not. It's just because the Earth is moving faster than what these other, especially the outer planets, are going at. And as such, when a planet's in retrograde, this is sort of giving us the opportunity to revisit things. As such, Pluto is revolutionary. It's like, where are we going? What are we considering when it comes to future potentials and options? And what do you want to create for yourself, which is actually uplifting and which you may not have thought is possible before? There's all these new endeavors that have a degree of force and drive due to Pluto now trining the Sun, Moon, and Mercury. And if you need to get a little bit more clarity around this, then maybe write down the direction that you wish to head in, so you are not too distracted with all the other things that Gemini likes to include as well. Maybe also think beyond the everyday, the immediate, and consider where do you want to see yourself or see what's happening in your life in the longer term. Now, there is a stellium in Gemini, but we also have a stellium in Aries. So we have the North Node, we have Chiron, we have Venus, we have Saturn, and also Neptune, all in Aries. So if you've got your birth chart, again, look at what house Aries is in, because this will also be activated at this new moon. Saturn is the planet that sort of represents structure and responsibility. It's only recently moved into Aries. It's done that on the 24th of May, just prior to this new moon. So it's at 0 degrees and 8 minutes of Aries. And it is together and almost in an exact conjunction with Neptune, which is at 1 degrees, 46 minutes of Aries. And Neptune embodies freedom and transcendence. And as such, there's a little bit of a tension between the two, between the practical and the spiritual, between the known, the proven, and the unknown, the what ifs, the possibilities. However, these energetics are also showing you new potentials and beginning points that can come together if you trust the process. And they, in particular, Saturn, which is grandfather time, will actually be slowing things down again, especially with Aries being a very impulsive sign. So consider where you are putting your energy, what you're putting it towards, and how you want to develop. Again, with Saturn, this is looking a little bit longer term. And it's quite interesting because both Saturn and Neptune are sextiled with Pluto. Pluto, of course, is the Roman lord of the underworld, as well as being, as I mentioned earlier, sextiled with the moon, sun, and Mercury. Therefore, there's all these energies that tend to be influencing each other in a very positive way at this new moon, because sextiles is all about bringing through opportunities, which is a little bit of a relief after the last couple of full moons and the eclipse that we've gone through has all been about shedding and letting things go. Now it's like we have made room to allow all this new energy to begin to take form. So coming back to Saturn and Neptune, they will be together until August this year. And then they will be in an almost exact conjunction with each other at 1 degrees of Aries before they retrograde into Pisces. And they will come back together into an exact conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries on the 20th of February next year, 2026. And what this means is that this conjunction between Saturn and Neptune really will be marking a significant period, in particular of change and transformation that will be impacting both our own personal lives as well as out on the collective, especially as they are outer planets, and that, of course, outer planets affect the collective as well. They can bring around or bring about challenges as well as opportunities that will include, say, heightened spirituality and creativity, as well as potential confusion and even disillusionment, depending on how much we are caught up in our head. Therefore, what we are experiencing at the moment is almost like a bit of a taste to what could very well occur in February next year when we have this exact conjunction between Saturn and Neptune, where they will then be commencing their new synodic cycle, which they do every 36 years. And the last time they actually commenced this cycle was back in 1989, and where they were both in Capricorn. So these energetics with this respect to Aries really have been building since 2023 and will really continue until Saturn leaves Aries in 2026. So coming back to the stellium, however, in Gemini, as I said, this could be a sense of overwhelm with respect to all this new information coming in. There could be a tendency to be caught up in gossip and chatter. There's too much going on, but it does not have a lot of meaning because a lot of it tends to be surface level, superficial stuff. All talk, no integrity. In order to get things moving forward and getting things done, especially if this Gemini energy is not grounded. So need to take a little bit more attention to that. Yet as Saturn is at, or almost at, is at actually 0 degrees of Aries, this is referred to as a world point. It's not the only world point. The world point is 0 degrees in all the cardinal signs, and the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And also the middle degrees of the fixed signs. And so we're looking at about 15, 16 degrees of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And what's interesting is that the planetary ruler of Aries is Mars, and Mars is around this middle degree point of Leo, one of the fixed signs, although it's at 18 degrees, 29 minutes. So it's just gone past it, just moving away from this 0 point. And it's interesting because it was actually at this 0 point just a couple of weeks prior to this new moon, sort of activating more leadership, more courage, also more of a creative force. And I think if we look at things on a more global level, we can actually see that. So a rather interesting, optimistic new moon that's going to be taking place, as I said, either on the 26th or the 27th, depending on where you are in the world. Here in Adelaide, it'll be on the 27th. We have 2 stelliums, one in the air sign of Gemini, one in the fire sign of Aries, really highlighting communication of new ideas, inspirations, and desires. So I'll link below my video that I did last year, I think, maybe I'll see before, on Sedna, if you have not seen it before. And I'll also link below the astrologers' pages who I follow. That's Molly McCord and Pam Gregory in particular, when I do these presentations, because I'm not an astrologer myself. So check out their websites for more information and let me know in the comments below as to how you're feeling about this new moon. I do go back and look at all the comments, and sometimes I even answer them. So time to get sort of grounded, time to sort of like, don't get too caught up in the gossip, making sure that the information that's coming through can be grounded. Also sort of lean into the new energies that are starting to come through. Blessings.